Hello everyone and welcome to the program Business Point on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi. Many thanks for joining us. On today's edition we'll be looking at spotlighting the key drivers of Nigerian inflation, given the fact that the monthly inflation rate for September was made public yesterday by the National Bureau of Statistics. So we're going to be looking at the key drivers and then avenues that can be taken for all of these things to be cushioned so that Nigerians will enjoy its economy and enjoy what they are working for, basically. So what you're working for, your monthly income would be able to sustain you and your family. But let me bring you up to speed with what's happening on the and what contributed to it getting up to this level of 32.70%, up from 32.25% in the prior month, making the first increase in 3 months. Contributing factors included depreciation of Nigerian naira and the increase in transportation prices. And following the hike in fuel price since early September, additionally, food inflation, which account for the bulk of Nigerian inflation basket, rose to 37.8% in the month of September, up from 37.5% in the month of August, aimed the impact of the recent severe floods in food-producing areas in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the core inflation was excluded the price of the volatility of agricultural products and energy stood at 27.4% in the month of September, down slightly from 27.6% in the prior month. Monthly consumption price surged by 2.2% and the most in 6 months, after a 2.2% rise in the previous month. So those are one of the things contributing, and then also naira as well is also not doing so well. We're talking about Africa now. This is what the World Bank has to say, that the Nigerian naira has been ranked among the worst performing currencies in the Saharan African nation for 2024. This is according to the latest edition of the Africans Plus report by the World Bank. The report noted that at the end of August 2024, the naira had depreciated by approximately 43% year to date, positioning it alongside the Ethiopian birr and South Sudanese pound as one of the region's weakest currencies. High demand in dollar in the parallel markets and several factors that have contributed to the depreciation of the naira, including a surge in demand for the US dollars in the parallel markets, limited dollar flow, and delay. We're suffering all of this depreciation, and then the naira is losing its value despite the fact that it's being floated. It was actually floated the moment subsidy was removed, and now the Crude for Naira initiative is meant to give the naira a bit of a momentum, but still the exchange rate is not saying the same thing. But we'll be extracting the key drivers of inflation and then also have a conversation around tax, while most Nigerians are not having faith in the taxing system. Why a lot of persons have argued because they don't have faith in Nigerian government. But we'll be going on a quick break, and when we return back, I'll be introducing my guest who is joining virtually, who will help us understand all of these factors. Please do stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Business Points. Now we're about to dive into the conversation where we'll be spotlighting the key drivers of Nigerian inflation. So I have my guest who is joining me virtually, who is also a financial and a business analyst. Good morning, Mr. John Ochai. Can you hear me? Good morning. So joining us on Business Point this morning. Yes, so let's get right into the conversation. The National Bureau of Statistics released its September report for inflation, which is now at 32.70%, up from 32.25 to 25%. What is your reaction to this current inflation rates that Nigerians are facing? But we'll resolve that and then we'll get back and get into the conversation. All right, many thanks for staying with us. So, Mr. John, if you can hear me now, good morning, and many thanks for joining on today's edition.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
Yes. So let's get into it. Inflation rate for the month of September. The wait is no longer here. Nigerians have been waiting, and financial and business analysts like yourselves have been waiting to, know what the National Bureau of Statistics will release. Now it has been released, 32.70%, up from 25% from the previous month of August. What is your reaction to that?
Well, the statistics analogy of the releasing of inflation indicator by the Bureau of Statistics have not really shown that yes, all the efforts we are putting in place to ensure we be able to curtail and bring the inflation down is not really working. You agree with me that this September it rose to 32.7% after slowing consecutively in the previous 2 months of the July and August. This was according to the latest. And then when what we are seeing from the behavioral movement in the chart is not really helping us. That means that Nigeria is still going to be biting hard based on the previous experience they have had. If you look at the imaginary increase of 0.5% from the August 2024, and then figure of the 32.15%, reflecting the ongoing price pressure according to across the country, year in, year on year rather, inflation has surged by 5.98% points compared to the 26.7% recorded in September 2023. So in 2024, with all the measures that have been put in place by the Central Bank of Nigeria, by the efforts by the government, it is expected that the inflation should have gone down beyond what it is as it is today. So with this report that we are having from the Bureau of the Statistics, that the inflation have rose to 32.7%, relatively August headline, and relatively 32 that we have in August. Looking at the movement behavior in the chart and the indicator, it's not really healthy in this economy. But we are hopeful that as this has been dished out, it should be onus is on the CBN and then the government to work hard to ensure that the inflation should go down instead of going up year in, year out. Furthermore, month-on-month basis, we have looked at a situation whereby it was the inflationary measure was 2.52%, and also we have the actions and behavioral line also, which was 0.30% higher than the rate recorded in August. Then 20.22%. This means that in September 2024, the rate of the increase in the average price level is higher than the rate of increase in the average price level in August. So with all this compared to what we have had from the previous, it means that we are expecting increase and increase and increase and increase over time. And when we continue to have such kind of increments in the system, automatically it doesn't really go well. But I would suggest that if we are experiencing such kind of behavioral change, and then we are looking at the long run, in the previous conversations we had earlier in this time, I told you that, Mr. Samuel, that look, we can't have the same practical practice every year, every time, every moment, and then we are expecting to have a change in the system. It doesn't work like that. So I think it is a high time for us to look at different perspectives. Why do we have a process of managing an economy from the perspective at which we things should be done, and that way it's not working in that light? So if you look at a different strategy to ensure that the general inflations and the inflation should be curtailed based on the experience that we have been having over time.
The monthly consumption price surged by 2.5%, the most in the in 6 months, after a 2.2% rise in the past previous months. We're looking at even the cost of living, the price index, and all going up above what was there previously in the month of August. So, what can you say is the key drivers to this increment that we're witnessing?
The key drivers of the increment that we are witnessing today, you realize that we are in the month of October. We have, we are approaching a U-type period where the demand for certain goods are high, and then there's the pressure of non-availabilities of those products being demanded and the services being demanded. So those things are one of the encumbrances that we find surrounding the whole issue concerning the inflationary measure that we are experiencing. And the foreign exchange, because we have not diversified our economy enough to bring more dollars to the country. So these are one of the problem we have. And then at the same time, Nigeria is a consumable nation, and the most of our consumption are not produced in this country. Is imported from the other shore, and those things got us our money down to other shore until we begin to look at inward and begin to think inward and begin to think what we can produce within the country. If not, we continue to have these skyrocketing inflations that we have in our society today.
Let's talk about Naira and how it's been performing lately. The World Bank has, classified Naira among the worst performing currencies in the sub-Saharan African nations. Merging Nigerian Naira with the likes of Sudanese, South Sudan pounds, and as well as also that the naira has depreciated year on year by 43%. So that's why this floating now, and the initiative of crude for naira, the crude for naira initiative. Do you think you see the naira rebounding against the dollar higher than it's been rebounding, and at what pace do you think it can go?
We wouldn't really think about the pace at which it can go now, because when you look at the behavioral change between the exchange rate between the naira and the dollar, we are not really working to bring the naira to equilibrium with the dollar. So, and that is exactly why the rating from the World Bank it can never be overemphasized, because over time we have not really worked to see how we'll be able to push up our currency within the international market. And that is the lingering experience that we have had over time, because we are not really diversifying the economy to ensure that, yes, we consume more of what we produce within the country. And that, how do we equate it? When the President Bola Tinubu came on board, what he said, because of the different rates of the FX, and then he unifies them with the hope that he's going to push the pressure to bring the dollar down. But as I speak to you, even within amongst the elites and every other person, we value other currencies more than even the naira, because of the depreciations of naira in the financial market. So until when we begin to enact some certain policy around the whole thing, so that I have said it over time, that in a situations whereby you cannot buy in naira, you don't expect appreciations in naira, because most of the things of the product being sold in the country, if you go to different models of financial threshold we have in the country as it is today, we convert our money to dollar, pound sterling, and euro, and keep them. So there is no much of such equivalency of such kind of currency within even the commercial bank much in the commercial bank. And when you have a situation where a lot of things, a lot of your naira is not being appreciated by the citizen, that they are converting the currency they have to naira, and based on the hedges and other they are experiencing in the market, automatically it will never bring the dollar and appreciate naira as soon, until when we begin to look at it holistically and look at the equivalency surrounding the naira. One, we need to ask ourselves, why is our naira is not appreciating? And over time, our naira is higher than pound sterling. Where do we have missed the link? That at this point in time, that every time our currency is being depreciated to the extent that we are exchanging between the 105 naira as against $1. How do we arrive there? So we need to look at those encumbrances and look at the factor that make us to have those, such kind of the exchange rate. Then we now see how we can be able to solve the problem and then push the, the naira up. Look at Ghana as at yesterday. Their money now is higher than us. Look at most of the African countries as it is today. Their money, their currency is higher than the naira. Is it not gullible? Is it not shameful? And we are sitting there pretending that yes, all is well and all is not well. Until those who are saddled with the responsibility to stop politicking with the issues of economy and put the right people in the right places, I bet you, Samuel, it will change, not even a distant time, because we know what to do. It is because we refuse to do what is right and what is good for our people. And that is because of the selfishness that we have in the system. And that selfishness is plunging us backward instead of elevating us to where we are supposed to be. So today, I will tell you for a fact, if you buy in Naira and sell in Naira, definitely Naira will definitely appreciate.
They don't pay aside for those working in the civil service. Now, what do you think? Because do you think that Nigerian citizens don't really believe in taxation system, or they don't believe in the government? That's why most persons, most individuals are evading their tax obligations. In 2 minutes, please.
Okay. You see, there are so many reasons why there is no tax compliance in the country. There are a number of factors. And the number of factors are including the coherence of the fiscal policy, the incumbency and inefficiency of tax administrative system that we have in the country as today. We have high levels of tax evasion today because Nigeria are not utilizing the revenue generated or collected by the federal government because there is no lack of transparency. And that is why this fear of not, using the tax imposed on Nigeria and Nigerians are not benefiting from it, it poses those ambiguous factors that I have mentioned over time. The absence of compensation from the government is one of the reasons. The average Nigerian today cannot boast that this is what they have benefited from the tax or revenue that has been generated over time. Mismanagement of the fund realized from the tax remittance are also one of the issues that are surrounding it. Then we have a lot of illegalities of tax avoidance, and governments are not doing enough to also put a lot of Nigeria into the tax net because most of our economy are informal sector and a few formal sector are really complying and some are not complying because the federal governments are not really spreading their tentacles to ensure that tax are being collected from the taxpayer. So these are the factors that we have experienced low levels of tax compliances that we have in Nigeria today. Until we begin to, look at angles and what people should do to ensure that they comply in their tax, and then putting the efficiency of tax administrative system, I think it will go a long way to change the narrative of what Nigeria have towards the tax collector of this country.
part of those monies to, take care of infrastructure and every other angle, provide good health care for its citizens. Thank you so much, Mr. John, for joining us on today's edition of Business Points. But in 1 minute, can you just give us a suggestion that or a recommendation that would help, with the inflation and as well as Nigerian naira getting up tax payments?
Okay. The only thing is that we could do to reduce the inflation is, one, Nigeria needs to be thinking of be eating what they can produce. Then we will not depend much on what we imported. Because when you look at the equilibrium of the importations and the exportations in Nigeria today, is not equated. And the situation where we have higher imported goods to this country, what it means is that we'll continue to have a deficit in the system, not surplus. And when you don't have surplus, we will continue to experience the pain that we are going through as it is right now. Secondly, Nigeria want to benefit from what the tax they are paying. A situation where you see dilapidated road, and then you see our educational, our hospitals are in the state of comatose, and then government doesn't give her citizens a grant to establish some businesses. Even most of the businesses that have been in existence are folding up because they don't have a liquidity to fund it. Automatically, it's become a problem. Until Nigeria begins to think of the welfare of our citizens and think of what they could do to ensure that, yes, they live well and have a better life, then they will not invade tax as such. But when the government is not doing anything for her people and is not even thinking of the direction of the welfare of her citizens, automatically we continue to have a problem. And lately, when you see those who are in the helm of the power, and I'm making an awful statement that does not even guarantee that we have a future in this country, then ordinarily it's just an issue. Until that is curtailed, then we'll be able to move from where we are now to another level where we want to be.
My name is Samuel Lodi, and I will see you all tomorrow as we x-ray other angles of business. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again. Bye for now.